baby beard.
Waited for you, Fry.
This episode traumatized me as a young person.
My head is hurting again.
Where's my firstborn son?
God does not care about me masturbating.
Your singing is bad and you should feel bad.
First get out into bus, you're like, oh no!
Yeah, I don't like myself becoming the protagonist of this podcast.
You've been in
Yeah, because you haven't learned anything.
Shut up and take my podcast.
Straight out the gate into
Oh.
I don't. What's a good analogy there?
Wow, we had a white hot entry and then
and I
Sean
just-
just
I just-
completely fucked it on the landing.
I fucked it up.
I think you mean like a bronco, like a jumping bronco.
Yeah.
Oh God,
For all
now
our
I fucked it
Fucking
up too.
Bronco.
For all our Texan fans out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
a
This
jumping
is,
bronco straight into the fiery pits of hell.
This is like if you had a relay, right, and the first person sprinted over with a baton, and then you grabbed the baton out of their hand, turned around, and beat them in the face with it.
That's the analogy I was looking for. This is the kind of analogies that you get on Shut Up and Take My Podcast, the Futurama podcast that pits episode against episode in bloody, glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment. And as always, I am joined here by Ellen.
Just a note for anyone with a romantic partner, you don't need to subscribe to them on Twitter.
Not as always, I am joined by Callum.
I just want to say, poor Mr. Chunks.
Oh, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Mr. Chunks.
Vale, Mr. Chunks.
That's all I can think about.
He lived a good life.
I think he did.
There's
They,
two.
yeah.
It's
Like,
kind of like a cat-dog situation.
there's a lot of questions in this episode about sentience of beings.
Yeah,
I will say.
and speaking of sentient beings, that was a good one. We're joined here by Sean.
I like that Farnsworth is aware he's going directly to hell.
Yeah, he knows.
It's good. I'm glad that he's like familiar with that concept, that he's done a lot of bad shit.
Has he not had like personal run-ins with death before?
He was meant to go to the near Death Star because he's 10 years older. No, now he's far older than he's meant to be because he was in the Fountain of Youth.
That's one thing I always liked about, not liked, I really didn't like about that episode was the fact that, like, they just stopped coming for him after he escaped from their clutches.
Is it because he fudged the years? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he said, because when you're 150
Yes.
and he's actually 160. So then
So
he's
he's
like,
been
oh yeah, they
keeping it
broke
a
him out and they
secret.
didn't, they
Yeah.
just let it be.
They just let him go.
What?
I
Like, why didn't
guess
they go?
once you're out of the compound, they don't really give a shit.
Well, they're just like,
Maybe.
you know what?
You can
Good
die.
on you.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. Like, it's like a
They were very respectful of his decision.
yeah
I don't know.
decision to not
die. Yeah.
It's a bold decision.
Um,
Queen Liz, I respect your decision to not die. It's great.
Guys. So,
I
guys.
just got what you were saying there.
Yeah. I was about to like
I
launch
thought
into
you
my.
guys just really hated me there for a
No,
second. I'm
I-
just met with complete silence.
I had to curb myself from going into the story about how I killed Queen Elizabeth's
'Cause you've
mother.
used it already.
Because I've used it already.
Ah.
And my brain just like fried in
because
itself.
all of your
Fry.
life is just all of your life is just material for this podcast.
It
Sean.
really
You
is.
should
I never
know
talk
this.
to anyone ever
No.
until the 1 hour a week.
You just bank it all up.
Bank
for
it
the
all up,
podcast.
baby.
I can verify that. He doesn't come out of his room.
No, I don't.
He's like a Dracula kind of situation.
I haven't come out of many places.
Yeah.
There's a, ooh, you
That's
never
spicy
know.
commentary.
Intrigue.
So, guys, someone that's not going to be coming here today is Phil. Phil, that's just on a sour note.
Yeah.
Phil is otherwise predisposed,
Yeah.
indisposed, as it were. And see, there's one of those malapropisms.
But we
That-
still love him.
We still love him. So I went across the hall and I found my housemate Callum.
Hello.
It was an arduous task finding someone to replace Phil.
But also, like, just as a little prerequisite, first of all, Callum has watched a lot more of the new series of Futurama than we
I was
have.
very surprised to hear this as
Yeah.
well. That
Yeah.
you are like doing a Futurama podcast and you're very steeped in this knowledge, and yet you've not watched any of the new episodes.
We
Not to
didn't-
criticize. Not to...
Oof, this newcomer. He's
I'm just-
coming in with all these crazy ideas. He's a loose cannon.
Look, I'm just going to fix Mr. Callum's
He's
mic.
demanding crazy
Yeah.
things like we have seen Futurama before we try and talk to people about Futurama
I feel
as a
like-
medium.
That's
Mr. Callum is a writer. He is a reviewer. He is a jack of at least more than two trades.
no, thank you. That's really kind.
What, you thought it was just one trade?
I think I have more than. Gosh, now I don't know.
Gosh darn.
Gosh darn.
Yeah. And
Don't you have to choose between being a jack of all trades or...
a master of...
None.
Oh, that's the phrase.
One.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But generally, you can kind of... I like the phrase better. Like, you can... You can't half-ass something. You can only whole-ass things.
Yeah.
So true.
But I think... I don't know. I remember talking to someone about multitasking once, and he was like, multitasking is a myth. Like, you can only do things fully
What does
and,
that
like,
mean?
100%. And I was like, fuck off. Like, are you not also talking to me and breathing and blinking at the same time?
His face was going red at the time.
Yeah, he was really struggling.
It's really struggling. I think, it's like a stupid kind of thing to say. It's like you can't be a master of more than one skill or whatever.
Bitch,
But
I'm doing it.
You can.
I'm living it.
Yeah, exactly. Because life is long and you have a lot of time to kill on the
I'm
planet.
hating myself and also loving myself at the same time. It's weird. It's not a healthy way to live, but you know what? I've mastered it. So here we are.
Sorry, Chris, I'm just quickly...
Sorry, I'm just being an absolute
That's right.
pain.
You can bring your seating
Wow.
close if you want to...
Come in here, your new ideas, your crazy ideas about
begged me.
microphone.
You begged me to come on the show.
Well, because the last time Ellen and I did one together, it
got
was...
real sexual, real fast.
It really did.
That was
And you thought bringing me in was going to stop that?
That's true.
It's
But at
accurate.
least it takes the heat off us. We can be
Okay.
like, this fucking guy.
But guys, the point of this
Please.
is that Futurama brings people of all walks of life together, and Callum is also a person.
He has walked 5 seconds from his room to this one.
I had no plans tonight. I
Oh, it's so good.
had nothing.
Like, thank God.
So I was
we
like
haven't-
really pleased to have something to do on a Friday night. Thanks, guys.
Speaking of a Friday night, Sean, when did this air? I don't know. I'm trying to keep the format
Yeah, so...
loosely stapled together.
Okay, so the air date for this episode was July the 1st, 2010, which was a week before Sean's 19th birthday.
What?
Yeah, because I would have been, I would... no,
2010.
sorry. No, yes, no, that's correct. I would have, because July the 8th, thrown out personal information there, I would have been 19.
Ah,
So
did you celebrate by watching Futurama?
I actually don't think I celebrated my birthday that year.
Wow.
Because I had a 17th and then I had nothing
Sorry,
until
Harry
my
Potter.
23rd.
You're locked under the cupboard.
I had a 17th and then I didn't have another birthday party until my 23rd.
Okay, that's... Oh, 23rd. You didn't do a
Party though. Did
Big-
you do things for your birthday?
I mean, I acknowledged that it happened.
Okay.
And I'm sure I went, I'm like, I'm sure I got a present. or
Sean's
two.
birthday was just circled in the calendar, and then you go, yep,
Yep.
there
Yep.
it is.
I must
Just
be
another
older.
day.
I must be older. I think Futurama's putting out an episode.
Not going to watch it until I do a podcast about it 10 years later.
What podcast the thing in 2010? Surely.
They
Radio.
were just starting. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't even have the term.
2010. I don't think it started proper until maybe at least 2013.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was properly a thing.
And we're not going to look it up. Let's
At
not
least
look
not
it up.
I
popular.
refuse.
Let's say it as fact. 2013. If your podcast existed before then, fuck you.
You didn't exist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It was online radio. Now,
Podcast erasure.
this episode, season 6, episode 3, Attack of the Killer App, which is what? And a hint, it is on my DVD shelf.
Wait, what?
So, Attack of
Oh,
the
you
Killer
were asking what the title is about?
Yes,
It's about
yes. But what is it a reference to? Attack of the Killer App.
Attack of the Killer anything? Tomatoes?
Yes,
Browns?
I've got Return of the Killer Tomatoes on my shelf, which is the
Oh.
George Clooney film.
There was
Wow.
a sequel?
Yeah, there's 4 of them. There's Attack, Return, Revenge, and something else.
When do they make passata out of them?
What?
Nothing. I was just assuming with all this tomato-based content, they would arrive at pasta.
Oh, right, pasta.
Well, I said passata, which is
Passata.
like it's like crushed tomatoes that
It's
you then use to
tomatoes-
make a sauce.
Yeah.
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 Which you can learn more about at our side podcast.
Added nothing to that.
Yes, and
Yes.
well, it's more yes,
Side podcast.
less so and
Less so.
Shut up and take my pasta.
my passata.
My passata.
Why?
Passata podcast.
That's a spicy podcast.
Director for this episode is Stephen Sandoval. This is his debut. And I also did attempt to contact Mr. Stephen on Twitter.
How'd that go?
Mr. Stephen did not reply.
If you start calling him Mr. Steven, he'll start
We'll
replying.
I'll get
I
there.
may have called him Mr. Sandoval. I wanted to be respectful.
On
course.
Twitter?
Yeah, you don't get a lot of respect on Twitter, so I thought I'll give him something
True,
different.
you'll stand out in the crowd.
I thought I did. Maybe I was just even worse.
You know what? We'll keep trying.
Yeah, I'll keep badgering him because that's what worked well on Twitter.
Eventually, someone will get back to us about any of the outrageous things that we say in this fucking podcast.
Now, am I right, Ellen, that
Yes.
you are a fan of Tangled?
You are absolutely right.
Oh, good.
And also, I do like Disney princess work for kids, and Rapunzel's one of my main bitches.
Okay. Well,
Love it.
Sandoval
I do.
was Tangled's bitch.
What?
Because he was their storyboard artist for Tangled the series.
Oh, I
Tangled
haven't
the
actually seen it,
series?
but
Yeah,
I
there's
have
2 seasons
heard
in.
good things.
Yeah, it's now called Rapunzel: A Tangled Adventure.
That's
I think.
good, because it kind of pissed me off how Tangled marketed solely for... Not solely, but it was very aggressive targeting to young boys. And it was kind of like Disney was trying to shuck... Like, that somehow being the princess media thing appealing to young girls was not cool, or... that it wasn't such a large base.
Well, it was called Rapunzel originally, and then they
It was,
changed
and then
the...
they changed it to Tangled, and all
People
of the
boys might not go see it if it's
and all
called
the
Rapunzel.
trailers have Flynn Rider being the main narrator, and even the movie kicks off with Flynn saying like, "Oh, whatever, I'm cool and stuff, but this is actually a girl story. Sorry for tricking you." I really love Tangled.
We also have our
Having
go-to
said this.
accents, I realise. Yours is kind of the... like that.
Well,
yeah.
mine is a cool surfer dude.
And mine's always this guy. He
This
crops
guy.
up every now and then.
He's kind of Michael Caine, but
Yeah, a
not
little
really.
bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what mine is yet. Maybe we'll
Michael
discover
Caine,
it. We'll
if he
discover it
didn't-
in the course of this
If
episode.
he didn't use half his face.
Over the next 40 minutes, Callum will have a voice. A distinctive voice.
What will
like-
it be?
This is like a Star is Born, but...
You can't write this stuff. You can't write this stuff at all. But you know who the writer for this episode was?
Oh, smooth.
Oh, writer was Pat.
Well, shucks!
Well, gee, the writer for this episode was Patrick M. Verone. Patrick M. Verone, back from I didn't write it down. So we may have to edit that in later.
Risky.
Cool.
Bender's Game Part 4.
However, I found this interesting. So in this season, he does episodes 3, 11, and 19. And the next season, he does the episodes 3, 11, and 19.
Okay.
So
Is
he
that
does-
maybe... Okay, are those episodes always meant to be chronologically 3? Or is it just I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like.
Coincidence, or is it more
Yeah.
a structural? Yeah.
Well, because production order and broadcast order are different. At the moment, in this new season, they're the same.
Yeah.
But I think next season they kind of go all over the shop.
Steer with.
So unless like those are his favorite.
That is very
Numbers.
interesting.
Yeah.
It could. I'm thinking if it's like the time that they make them, that it's like it's a time that he is available to do amidst other projects.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Maybe.
he might just fucking like those numbers. I don't know.
Now, there is a guest appearance on this episode.
And
We're introducing Craig Ferguson.
what?
What?
Where do you reckon he was? Have a think.
God.
Craig
Ferguson.
Excuse me.
Was he Mr. Chunks?
Nope.
The vomiting goat.
Callum's dead.
He wasn't Susan Boyle, was
Oh,
he?
yes, he was.
No!
Susan
What?
Boyle.
A Boyle can have a voice?
Best Futurama character of all time? Question mark.
Question mark, question mark, question mark.
She's Scottish, he's Scottish.
Yep.
It all makes sense.
It's like just instant casting,
It
right?
completely lines up.
So yeah. Why did I not see this before?
How is that how you use your Craig Ferguson? That is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. To have like such a good
Craigsy.
Craig Z.
Craigsy.
Sorry.
Ah.
Interesting. I may have thoughts about that later, but now it's not the time for thoughts.
Now, people might be wondering,
No.
With
why
no-
is Susan Boyle in this episode? So, what is this episode, Ellen? How does Susan Boyle factor in?
Well,
Oh,
ready to do the plot rundown. It's
On the
me.
edge of my seat.
You know, the person who goes on the most fucking tangents of all. So, basically, the episode opens, they're having e-waste recycling day. Okay, so they are dumping all their toxic electronic products. They take them to the third world a third world
Of
to
interest.
deal with them.
Yep.
Leela's like, hey, this is terrible, and it's it's polluting that world and endangering all the people. We should stop just throwing away our electronics when we could use them. But you know what? Fuck that, because Mum's releasing a new iPhone, so they all get the new iPhones and they're all using them. And Fry and Bender get into a race to who will reach 1 million subscribers first, not knowing
Twitcher.
something.
Twitcher.
It's the Twitter whatever fucking
Now,
thing that.
My question is,
Yes.
Did Twitch launch before this episode or after?
Surely before. I mean, this is what did I say? It was 2010.
2010.
I mean, it wasn't a thing in Australia.
remember Twitch
Australia got
being a
Twitter
thing.
really late.
No, not Twitter. Twitch.
Oh, Twitch. Ooh.
Twitch seems even
Twitch
later
is
to
much
me.
later, I feel like.
So has Futurama effectively,
written
by
history.
combining, an existing format and a future?
Ooh.
I think the answer is abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Boy.
Hey, this is the puncast.
Right. So they're
Sorry,
trying to. No, that's
derail you?
This is good. This is vital.
Derailing's what we do.
Yes. So steering back, Mum also is waiting for who will reach 1 million subscribers first, because she's going to release this twitworm. It's a virus that spreads into people's brains, making them very suggestible and effectively her zombies to control. So in this race, Fry manages to record an embarrassing video of Leela, who has a singing boil on her ass, and he releases it, even though she begs him not to. He is an ass. He makes his amends by releasing an equally embarrassing video of himself. By that time, no one fucking cares. Bender and Fry have both hit 1 million subscribers. Mum has released the virus, and all of her zombies now rush to the stores because she has released an iPhone 2. That's the plot.
Ellen. Callum.
I did
Hello.
it. Did I do the plot?
You did the plot.
I did the
The
plot.
plot
I'm
is
sorry.
concluded.
I was trying to be more succinct, but you know what? I've had a drink.
You've had a drink or two. No, you just had the one.
Now,
What do we think?
having read out the plot, I'm thinking to myself, and maybe internal logic, I shouldn't be questioning the logic of this episode at all.
Do whatever you feel, man.
do
Thanks, man.
absolutely do that.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
brah.
Thanks, brah.
Dude.
I'm doing the surf's up motion right now, just
love
for all you listeners.
They can feel it.
They can feel it. You can feel the force down the microphone.
Just take it. Take the podcast and take the hand signal.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's something that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Callum, you were saying.
But so mom releases this
Twitworm.
twitworm to all the 1 million to 2 million subscribers.
That's right.
But all of those people would already have the iPhone. Why does she then need them to go to the iPhone store and buy the second
I
version?
think it's big as part of a bigger comment. Well, this segues into what we think, I guess, because we were constantly talking about even the name of this title alarmed us a little bit, because in talking about modern technology and things that are happening, things that are current in the real world, introducing that into Futurama, the fear that it will somewhat date the show when it has otherwise been kind of timeless. Yes, there are references, but those references are kind of there's nothing so kind of current about them. And I think it's part of a bigger commentary on something that I am a bit wary of. It seems like a kind of looking down at change and saying, "Whoa, all these people rushing to buy iPhones are zombies." Even though at the beginning of the episode everyone rushed to buy it anyway, so they didn't really need the twitworm.
That is
so it's
very
kind of
interesting
dumb.
as well, because you bring up Callie, you bring up a super good point. They have the phones.
They have the phone.
And
They all
things
have the
get
phones.
she has a direct line to them. And Twitter is does she own Twitter as well? She owns the app.
I think she owns the app
But surely, okay, maybe it's
as well as the handset.
She has a direct line to them anyway. She can reach more than 1 million people.
But she can
She
reach,
can reach
everyone
all of
that's-
them.
Yeah.
a lot of people have just
Yeah.
willingly put a piece of electronic material into their eyeball and ear.
A very
and
painful
work.
process if we go by Fry. Holy shit.
So,
that was...
is it really that important that she has the twitworm? Her marketing seems pretty good.
They were there.
Yeah.
They were there.
100%.
Also, 2 weeks after the episode aired, the iPhone 4 came out. Like, it's super timely. I got the iPhone 4.
Did you?
Weeks after.
Did you line up?
iPhone 4.
There was no lineup. I got straight away. It lasted me 8 years.
Yeah, I've never got the
Solid
idea
piece
of
of technology.
lining up for something that you can just the next day walk into a store and get.
It's that
Question
thing
mark?
you have to. You're the first. You're not the first.
I've
but
never
you
done
feel
that
like the
for
first.
anything, and I never will. This is grand sweeping statement corner by Ellen. Like even I know people did it for the Harry Potter books and whatever, and
I lined up for those books.
yeah, I just don't
100%.
get the idea of doing anything at midnight. That's the witching hour. That's your time. That's your time for you. You know, I'm not doing anything for anyone at midnight.
I
From
go
the-
to midnight screenings of movies. I should. Oh,
Oh, that was the saddest thing I've ever
I
heard.
think I've definitely been to a midnight, but it wasn't a midnight screening. It just happened to be playing at midnight. Does
What's-
that make sense?
So it wasn't a special event. It
No,
was just
Right.
a,
it wasn't
You just went to a film like a pleb at midnight.
like a pleb.
Like a
like
pleb.
a pleb.
I don't know. A pleb to me just I imagine someone with like a pipe and glasses, but also like not a worldly person. Imagine a tiny child in a giant robe and pipe, like tripping on the. That's what I imagine when people say pleb.
Pleb.
Is that wrong? Is that a wrong reading? That's the feeling I get.
No,
I don't even know what a pleb is, so
Plebeian.
I'm happy to accept that as
Yeah.
the canon
Yes.
definition.
I know what the word means, but that's the image my mind conjures.
Yeah. I like it. I think we should. I really, really do.
Thank
I
you.
still can't get over the Susan Boyle imagery.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, we need to talk about that.
can we talk about Susan
We need to
Boyle?
talk about
I'm
Susan
assuming that's when she was.
So this is part of that
Current.
other what you were just talking about, Ellen. Is
it's referencing a lot
it's a
of
very
current things.
very specific reference to something that happened in 2010.
Let's go with that. Well, it would have been
2009
2009 maybe because
maybe?
I think 9.
Yeah.
I seem to recall it being when I was in year 9. I don't know.
it's such a weird left turn.
Yeah.
Is oh, so
is.
what are the current things? We've got the iPhone. We've got Twitter. I guess that you could say is encompassed by the iPhone, but it's its own thing. I think.
Yeah.
So we've got iPhones. We've got Twitter / social media. We have Susan Boyle. Is that all?
Those are the main ones, isn't it?
Those are the main ones. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I guess doomsday devices are always relevant.
That's true.
I did
sadly.
like seeing Doomsday devices get a little mention in this episode.
Yeah, they seem to occur pretty rapidly.
He has too many. I mean, he has a lot, but he has
Like-
too many.
From the movies onwards, we are seeing a doomsday
Yeah.
device, and it's from like the same. Now they're all in a box, but like before they occupied the same shelf. Like we were shown that same shelf. I
It's
don't
also
know
a
how many
very
times.
dangerous universe that he can carry them in broad daylight and no one gives a shit.
Yeah,
Like in
well-
front of the mayor.
Yeah.
Well, the mayor just tossed a robot baby, a robot infant into the trash.
It's a very cavalier.
It's a very cavalier, and it speaks a lot to the morals of this universe. The one
Yeah.
thing that I was thinking about when watching this was, like, very specifically the character of Leela and the morals behind her. I mean, in the very start of the episode, she is very much... They go to the third world,
Yes.
and she's very much opposed to what she's seeing
Yeah.
there. But then in the next story beat, she's like, let's go get the iPhone.
yeah.
That seems to ring true to me on Leela's characterization. Sometimes she is very fervent in sticking to her beliefs, and then other times she's just ready to go with the flow and like, you know, she's not totally like anti-capitalist. Like she's fairly like
She'd devour those poplars.
yeah, that's true.
Love those poplars.
That's true. And it is the kind of, it's an interesting thing to look at, certainly, because I know I do that when I'm like, I need to boycott these companies and
Yeah.
whatever, and this artist and blah, blah, blah. But do I sometimes still buy makeup that is, you know, not wholly vegan? Yeah.
Sorry about it.
Did I go see Baby Driver? I don't think
I did.
Wait, did we know Kevin Spacey was
Not
shit
at that
then?
point, no.
Okay.
No.
All right, that's safe.
No.
That money is safe in
He was
my
a safe.
mind.
He was a safe Spacey
It
at that
goes
point.
straight to a safe, and Kevin Spacey is kept completely away from it. But you know, we've all done that thing where we're like, we're okay with activism to a certain degree, and then it starts to impact how we live in just how modern society works. Like, yes, if a new phone comes out, generally most people will go, well, I need to update.
Yeah.
Here we go. Even though we could just keep using electronics until they fucking die.
I have absolutely had that
Although
thought.
for Apple, let's be real, the time that they
can't,
die
yeah.
is around the time that a new thing is being updated.
Yeah. And so often, more often than not, you need to do system updates, and they won't let you go past a certain handset. And it's like,
but you could.
You need to get the new
definitely
one.
could if you were like savvy enough. The problem is we don't know how our things work.
No.
no, we are so technologically switched on, but we don't understand
The things that we use.
That's-
And
yeah.
how they work.
how they work.
The other thing with Leela I've noticed is
scary.
that she doesn't. Leela and Fry are not together in this. Did you notice
This
that?
is an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
I
and
looked at
it's-
it and there wasn't like a production broadcast like disparity. Like
Yeah.
in the first 2 episodes, they make it pretty clear that they are
They're
actually
holding,
dating.
and there's also signs of affection, like they hold hands and whatever.
Yeah.
There is
She specifically calls him a friend.
yes, and they like
Wow.
she says
Yeah.
you're
You're a good friend.
yeah, and I thought, oh, that's odd. And then they just hug. Like there's no like in the last episode they make it pretty
kiss,
clear.
like a kiss or something, and also the last episode, but definitely Rebirth was very centered around how Leela and Fry feel about each other romantically, not just as friends. Whereas The Sting captures their romantic feelings, but it's more an encompassing just their love for each other in general, not as like it encompasses all things, friend and potential lover kind of thing.
Is it just an oversight? Maybe
It's very interesting, and I feel like the way that it brushes past that means that the betrayal is also more horrific. I don't know. It's really hard to have Fry be such a bastard to Leela in this one.
Yeah.
Because
It's a horrible thing he does to
it's a
him.
horrible thing.
Oh, fuck.
What?
what?
It's a horrible thing that he does to her. I said it the other way around.
Oh, well, yeah.
Just ignore
How
me.
Dare she? How dare she?
And not only to her, but also Susan Boyle.
Does it show her face?
Yeah.
This is the one thing I was thinking
That's
about.
the thing. I thought he just well, everyone seems to be watching the clip just of starting from Susan Boyle singing.
Yeah. I mean, Sal
Susan
seems to
Boyle-
recognize Leela's ass straight away.
He
Yeah.
does. But
In
Susan
Job
Boyle
100.
has purple hair, and we've not seen anyone else in this universe who has purple hair. Maybe everyone
Is
just...
that true?
No. Yeah, maybe.
She's just the only
No.
character in this whole
There's some
city.
weird things that it feels like this episode is not fully carrying on from the past of Futurama. Like, she also calls herself a Cyclops. Like, I know that's happened a few times post like mutant reveal, but
Yeah.
she's not. She's not a Cyclops.
No, she's not.
But she
She's a
is
mutant.
she is a mutant, but she is a Cyclops by definition, because
Okay.
she is a,
I guess.
Okay.
I guess we think
A
of
humanoid with
Cyclops as like a not a race,
Well,
but
it's
like
only
No.
it's only because she. I guess this is just from
earlier episodes.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
mythology of the earlier Futurama, when she's like, I am an alien, I am a Cyclops. So
Yeah.
in my brain, it's like, oh, okay, Cyclops is a species of alien.
Oh.
And then yeah,
yeah.
that's how I talk to myself.
Oh, like,
oh,
On the subject of Leela, taco and spaghetti together.
I
Good.
saw a YouTube video
Uh-oh.
where this mum was like, I'm going to let my kids pick what they want for food. Obviously, there are going to be some limitations. It can't be like, I want that blue liquid under the sink.
Well, okay, son.
Here you go.
If you want it.
I have 3 more sons.
But they
Easily
were like,
replaceable.
because she was like, what do you want for dinner? And they were like, spaghetti tacos.
Spaghetti
And so she
tacos.
just, basically,
it.
she just made spaghetti and then put it in a taco. And they seem to fucking love it.
See, that I get. Like, if you put them together, but she had them separate.
Well,
I can attest-
maybe she was combining them in her mouth for the mouth feel.
I have made
Discuss.
taco pasta before.
Have you?
It's you just put some cumin into the pasta sauce, and
Cumin?
it tastes exactly cumin,
You want?
and it tastes exactly like tacos, and it was delicious. So that's a hot culinary tip for your Both.
Thank you.
A bit
Sean
of-
made a really weird face. In
No,
the middle
I was
of
trying to
that.
think like
Dude.
how much of our fans are positive on puns. Because if they're not,
God, they hate.
they hate us right now.
Well,
it's great.
We
I love
pepper
it.
them in.
We're not gonna
Well,
stop.
We pepper them in
Pepper them in.
from the
Oh.
spice. But we do use puns a lot. It's just usually someone has the good grace to groan. But I don't know. We're
think
feeling
you
we're
can't
feeling
avoid
pro puns
Pro pun.
puns.
Pro pun?
tonight. I don't know.
I don't think there's a pun in there.
No.
Propane.
I was trying to say propane and then I was
Yeah.
going to go, dang it, Bobby. And
There's a very important thing.
Yes.
That we have not. The name of our podcast.
yes.
Yeah.
I did not realize it is from this episode.
I always thought it was a
I-
classic Futurama
that's
line.
what I thought
like the coffee
too.
episode, 300 Big Boys. That's where I always thought it
That's
came
what
from.
I thought.
Yeah.
But
It's not.
this one, Attack of the Killer Apps.
Yeah. The new series.
Our podcast's namesake.
I don't know if we ever brought this up, but James was the one who named, James, who was in our first kind of 40, 50 episodes, he came up with the name for this podcast.
Right.
He said it.
This quote has also been memeified, so
Yes.
I doubt
Yeah.
a lot of people would actually know which fucking episode it comes from.
Does that lessen your enjoyment of the title? Now you know it comes from
It's
this
just a
episode?
weird thing.
Yeah.
I
Just 'cause
always,
we always thought it was a
always
classic.
assumed it was from an older episode.
Yeah.
Even
and
the
then-
animation looked like older. I don't know what that means,
Yeah,
but it just
and then
looked
to,
like
to
it was from
hear
a...
it now, it's just kind of shook me to my core.
Yeah. Also,
You should have been in the room. Listener, you should have been in the room when this line was uttered. It was just like, what?
It was like a nice like triple take, like, and then also everyone like looking at each other like for clarification.
It was like,
Did they do that?
Did you hear that? Did you hear what I just said? Yeah, I think I heard what you said.
My
I
stars.
can also shock you guys in that.
Do it.
So I had a theory a while ago, canon theory, that Bender and Flexo had swapped, and what we've had so far has been Flexo for the longest time. I think we just got reintroduced to Bender, which is why he was so
Oh.
happy to not mention, like, because he
Flexo?
opened up and he's like, yeah, and he like shut it. And
Wait.
he like
So you hang on. So you think that the Flexo we see in the bin at the beginning of this episode, that is Bender?
that is Bender.
Okay.
Wow.
And so Flexo, just before anyone
notice.
notices, shuts. Oh.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's why that was. It should be a bigger thing because
That's possible. If Bender must have had a big change of.
he was in prison.
That's true. Because he realizes his, not irrelevance, but his, like, the fact that bending robots are harmful and wasteful and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he's doing his bit for society by exterminating himself. Why doesn't he just use a suicide booth?
Because that's too easy. It's just too easy. Tried it once, it didn't work. I'm going to die on this hill.
You are dying on the hill, or Flex? You are dying on the hill of believing that Bender is Flexo.
That
and
one.
Vice versa. Okay. I can't remember if we said. Oh, we said R.I.P. to our beloved Mr. Chunks, the two-headed goat that vomits and.
What a nasty reveal it is when they turn
Diarrheas?
around Mr. Chunk and it's got another goat head on the back.
What is the verb for diarrhea?
The verb for
You can't say like I
diarrheaing.
diarrheaed.
I exploded.
Ugh.
Oh, okay.
I know people because what is the verb for period? Because I know people who have said I perioded.
Now
All
this,
over the place.
What? How do you feel
On
about
the
the word?
couch.
How do you feel about the word flowing?
I mean, it sounds too nice.
Right.
Yeah, it denotes too much of a calm, easy.
What's a more visceral
It's like I don't know
explanation?
because there's
Blood.
clots and shit and
I
not clots and shit. Sorry, there are. Although
flushed.
period poops, like people who don't have periods. I pity you because you never know the relief it is to poop whilst on your period. It's great.
So the goat was
So the goat.
was exploding.
That
both
is
ends.
terrible. And I forgot what I remembered what I
Yep,
was
there
about
you
to segue. So we RIP'd our beloved Mr. Chunks.
Yep, dead.
Awful.
I'm going to link this. This is a weird tangent, but okay. So I want to say my own RIP. Maybe I possibly shouldn't have linked it in with Mr. Chunks. Whoops. So a beloved creator of mine died recently.
Yeah.
Steven Hillenberg, who was the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, really?
So he died recently.
Yeah.
Very sudden, actually, because he was only 57.
I think,
too,
yeah.
Too
Jeez.
young. And he's responsible for a lot of the media that I freaking love. And not only, I think lots of people who watched SpongeBob, you know, and possibly like even as a teenager watching SpongeBob, it is really smart. It's really smart comedy, and it is really like it embraces absurdism, but it's also got some really sharp satire that
If anyone
paid
feels like
off for a generation later on. Things that were not quite relevant were explored in SpongeBob. I watched this brilliant essay about it today, talking about how, and I'm linking this in to how Fry has utterly betrayed Leela in leaking this video about her. And the way he apologizes is by almost self-flagellation by throwing himself into the vomit diarrhea pit.
Not without breaking his neck.
In a terrible landing as well.
Right, a horrible colour.
So
That thing
minus 10 for style.
What is it?
And I guess a little moral to learn from this is it is not enough sometimes to apologize to someone that you have grievously wronged. Sometimes you have to drag yourself through the shit, and SpongeBob explores that in like an episode where he's making all these terribly racist squirrel jokes about Sandy. He does it for like a stand-up thing.
Yes, I've seen this.
I guess if this was a normal kids show, he would be like, "I'm sorry, Sandy, and I learned how to respect people."
Okay,
people's
SpongeBob.
Squirrels. I don't know.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. Species.
Checks out.
Species that live under the sea.
All right, go.
And as squirrels.
I've already fucked myself. But he instead he like learns to use his art, and he starts making fun of himself, but also everyone in the room. And it's like, yeah, you can't just be like, yeah, sorry, I fucked up. You have to do something else with
grow.
Exactly. And there's another point about it in the one where he's ripped his pants, which is really pertinent to today's meme culture. Like, a joke does not just work sometimes. Like, it grows stale, and you need to like re-update the format. Okay, and I just wanted to say, yeah, it is a nice. I'm annoyed that the payoff for Fry hurting Leela in this way was not really explored. I'm also annoyed that Leela just gets over it.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem very satisfying.
It just so
and
happens that it works out, but it shouldn't be that easy.
And this episode would be the same if they weren't in a relationship. I would like to see how it would impact them more. Like, because you've let someone, like, having a friend betray you is very bad, but also someone that you've let into way more intimate parts of your life, and also parts of your body, let's be real. To have them turn around and make fun of you is terrible.
You could just take away the Susan Boyle aspect. Like, it could be like an embarrassing video.
I wish that they did.
And like, don't make it Susan Boyle, and then use the time that you dedicated to Craig Ferguson's Susan Boyle impression and make it about the fallout from the video.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
enough time to explore it, because they
Yeah.
dedicate a shit ton of time to Susan Boyle.
They really do.
I didn't feel good about Susan Boyle.
No.
I thought it
I
was
didn't
dumb.
feel good about Susan Boyle. And I also was thinking, like, so Leela has this, and I'm going back to sentience, right?
Yeah.
She has this sentient being on her
Oh, yeah.
butt that she repeatedly kills and hurts and tortures. Are we going to call her out on some kind of...
Nah.
No? No, okay, no, just shut
I
up,
don't know.
Callum.
Yes.
I'm a pimple popper, so I'm like, get it.
I mean, but are
off,
your people
get it off,
sentient?
Do your
Do they
people
scream?
talk to you? Do like they have intelligent thought? I'm just very curious.
They don't. I don't know. Maybe I imbue them with like
Oh my god! Talk to them. Give them voices.
I'll say
going
it.
down.
She's a killer.
She's a killer.
Yeah, she's
a killer.
Yeah.
But it comes back. That's the thing.
She's
So
a
it's not-
repeat offender
It's more she's
She's a
just
repeat offender.
draining it.
of life.
Ugh.
Like, yeah, and what does Susan think about being lanced repeatedly and stabbed?
Yeah,
And
what
How
is
did Susan come into being?
Oh well, Susan.
How did Susan?
Susan likes having some attention. Clearly, because
she's loving it.
in
She-
the
yeah.
media storm. She's like, yay.
Do we
Or-
She's absolutely loving
do we fix that? Like, where
What?
does it end?
I don't-
It ends kind of abruptly.
It ends by Leela suddenly, like, apparently...
What's her reason for...
not getting over her Fry's betrayal because everyone, in the fact that viral videos are stale within, 2 minutes.
Does
People have
Susan
already...
Boyle ever return?
Yeah, because she's a Boyle.
Hopefully, as in like in another episode.
Right.
Keep watching and find out.
A Boyle can... As much as I hate this, I don't get why we're laughing at Susan Boyle as well. Cause
No.
Why is she a bad singer? Susan Boyle's
She's
famously a good singer.
Fantastic singer, yeah.
Question mark?
So, guys,
Yes.
we're going to have to put this down to a vote.
Woof.
Woof. We have Rebirth against Attack of the Killer App.
Wait, shit, there's one more reference.
Yes.
Jared from Subway.
He
And
wasn't-
that
I can
horribly
say he
dates
wasn't,
this.
Yes, because he was not convicted at this point for another 5 years.
Yeah. So this is...
So it was already out of date by the time they referenced it.
yeah.
Like, why? That's just such
It's not good when... look.
It's a bad joke.
This is my...
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can address this more in our vote as well.
Yes.
So should we lean into the vote?
Let's lean right in. I'm going for Rebirth. I'm
Yes.
just putting it there. I thought Rebirth was like a lovely celebration of heading onto the new series, and it didn't, like, I don't know, just with the Killer App, whether it does it effectively or not, I'm just not really into the kind of leaning into the current trends of today and
Whoa, technology!
iPhone.
And it is done
Black
a lot.
Mirror by Charlie Brooker. With this voiceover.
I love it. It is done a lot better. Can we talk about future episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you might spoil it.
The
for
very
Sean
next
and I, but-
episode also touches on
yep.
a very pertinent social
Robosexuality.
issue. Yeah, exactly. And I think that does it in a lot better way.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, I completely agree. And I would probably give it to Rebirth as well.
Yeah,
Looks like it's just me.
Oh.
Nah, Rebirth. It has to be. This episode isn't... I wouldn't say it's bad.
No.
I do think it's definitely possible, even though we're only 3 episodes in, a contender for the stinker of the season. Just because it does date it in a terrible way, and there's a streak of mean-spiritedness that's coming about this, and it's the same thing why I'm wary of Black Mirror, because it seems to be like, whoa, technology, it's bad, and the youths, why don't they read books? It's like, adapt to change, and people have always thought change is bad, and I think Futurama has been smarter in the past by analysing things as a little bit objectively. It's why a lot of the references, I suppose, are from the past, but they do talk about current issues. They just don't use specific references, and that's good.
Yeah.
They could have easily had a talk about how mindless we are about consuming constant electronics and the waste. Like, the pretense that is forgotten in the first 5 minutes of this episode could have been a really great Futurama episode.
Yeah.
And a really pertinent one that we should actually talk more about in today's society, but instead they lean into the viral stuff, which I think is always because when TV talks about internet media, it does seem a bit like, video killed the radio star. It's like, sorry TV, you just don't get it. You're too old. Like, you're not with the times. I've never seen a show that has really properly commented on the very weird way that the internet and its media works.
Yeah.
And the day maybe SpongeBob did it. You know what? I'm going to say it. SpongeBob got internet culture. Sorry, Futurama. You're going to have to take a back seat. And this is my opinion.
Here,
the vote.
Mr. Speaker.
Did you vote? I don't remember. Did you vote?
I vote
You
Rebirth.
voted. Rebirth.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr.
Here.
Spraker.
Here. Now, guys, as a quick little voice, we're not going to do Susan Boyle as a tribute to...
As I cannot do it.
but we
cannot
can
do a
do
Scottish accent.
We can do Scottish.
Oh, fuck.
Just any Scottish. You'd have got it. It's fine. We don't have any Scottish listeners. It's fine.
I find it hard. No, I veer into Irish.
I'm trying to think of when I was in
find
Scotland
Irish
and what
much more
people said
soothing.
then.
What did
and
people say to you?
It was like a lot. People just want me to drink iron brew all the time.
How would how would they say it?
The second day I was in Edinburgh, I got offered a free iron brew off the street.
Oh my god! Yeah, all the time. Just people walking around with these cans.
Iron brew.
So what
did
would
work
What would they
wonders.
say to you?
Oh, something about sausages. I don't know.
I want to hear you do it.
Oh,
You've not got no sausages.
guy, you've got no sausages on your plate. I think I'm much better at Irish accents.
Well,
to be
that actually
honest.
sounded a lot more accurate than the shit we just did. So I'm with that.
Thanks, man.
Guys, if you would like to contact us, if you are from Scotland and you would like to contact us for any reason, you can do so by contacting us at babybeardmedia@gmail.com.
I think we'll just get a lot of angry complaints about
Yeah.
the
All right.
accents we
so
just did.
actually, if
All right.
you are on Twitter and you are a Scot, please. Scottish Twitter is so fucking wild and we love it. I'd love to hear all your fucking slang. We also are active on Facebook. What did I say? You can fight with us sometimes on Reddit. That's more Phil's job. We have an Instagram account where you can see our lovely little faces. And if you like this, or if you would like to lance us, you can do either by giving us either 1 or 5 stars in the iTunes app.
Yeah, or the podcast app. 5 stars preferably.
The killer app. Whoa.
Or you can find us at alotofgreen.com.au, our amazing podcasting network. Brand new. You can find us and a lot of other great Australian homegrown content to satisfy all your needs.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. All of them.
Yep.
alotofgreen.com.au.
I mean, they're working towards visual satisfaction. Nah, just kidding. It's all podcasts.
And guys, obviously, as always, come back to us next week. We have another episode to get to, as Callum so aptly put it. Proposition Infinity.
Wait.
And
Can't wait.
until
Last
that
one.
time, I've been Sean.
I've been Ellen.
And I've been Callum.
Yay.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
Oh, you did
Thanks,
so
man.
well.
It's good. Thanks for being here with us.
No, it's been a real
Love
pleasure.
it. Yeah.
Took to this like a fucking,
Duck to water.
nah.
No, that's too easy. No.
Better.
A Callum to water.
Better, because a duck
I love
is
to
only-
swim.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the beach tomorrow, I think. So.
Are you?
To the
Yeah.
beach.
Oh.
Yeah, beach. So,
Well,
yeah.
guys, it's been fun. It's been a
Oh, God,
rollicking
we're still
ride.
recording.
We are. We've got like 20
All
seconds
this
left.
shit.
I'm going to press.
Yeah,
we
this
cut
was
it fine.
tight.
We cut it fine.
We wasted it all on the preamble.
Ah. Love you all.
Bye.
Guess what?
Guess what, Chris?
Phil is unable to compete in this week's Shut Up and Take My Podcast.
Fucked up
so.
his neck, his back, his pussy, and his crack.
However, Chris, I brought someone in. I'm sure that's fine.
You know what? You know what, Chris? You don't own us. Maybe he does. Shit. Does he own us?
A bit.
Chris, you're a great guy.
I'm also 3 drinks in, so I'm ticking a lot of boxes that are probably not super helpful for an editor.
Wow. Aren't you meant to be the producer, dude?
But also, yeah, we're recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just sitting here like, have we gone into the episode now?
I don't know how many things I've got because people are like, hey, are you okay with like showing your boobs? I'm like, I guess. They're like, great.
Was that
Is it in the thing? or
You're
you
gonna be a
just
star.
You're a star, kid.
Steve Buscemi?
I'm not saying that he is not-
Buscemi? Busum?
Steve Buscemi.
I think he is weirdly handsome.
Interesting. He's got like a little gecko face.
I like geckos.
It's like the guy from the Bridgestone tires ad.
What, the actual gecko?
The little animated gecko.
I love that you said guy. It's a lizard.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, is it, no, the actual
It's
gecko.
an animated lizard.
You look like the
guy.
Michelin Man.
Yeah, that's right. He's a guy. I find the Michelin Man weirdly attractive.
Yeah.
Into
Have you
the
not
toilet?
seen that show? There was a whole show called I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, and it makes me fucking
That's
scared
terrifying.
as shit.
Could you be pregnant?
No.
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 Oh, I want to bring up a conversation. I want to bring up a conversation
think
that
about
I
it,
Do
had
the
though.
with
math,
Callum.
crunch the
You
numbers.
did.
That I had with Callum because I was on the record because I hate myself. I brought up that I hadn't had sex in a couple of months.
Yes, we did have this conversation. I can verify.
And then Callum takes a moment and then says, well, we'll have to change that, won't we? And then Callum takes a beat and he says, that's the weirdest thing I could have said to that.
And strangely, I don't take it back.
No,
You know what? I like that about. I think it means that you're goal driven.
Yes.
See, now when I asked you to do the laugh, that's not the laugh you did, but I like it.